Welcome. This is Barry Jones from Angelic Wisdom, and we're here for our weekly angel reading for April 3rd through the 9th, 2023. So before we get into this week's reading, I'd just like to welcome everyone back to this weekly series and to also welcome anyone who might be new to our Angelic Wisdom community. So, as we're in the month of the first full week of April, I just want to remind you of a few things. Um, Make sure that you have checked out the monthly angel reading, general reading, that I posted midweek, um, the previous week around, I don't know, the 28th maybe of March. Um, I have not had time to get um, to the angel scopes as of yet. Um, let's just say that it's been a little challenging with this roommate situation, and I had to um, cancel it for reasons which I will not disclose here, but I will just ask you to pray for me that um, what needs to work out for the highest good will, and that that the people who need to move along will do so um, with God's grace and peace. Um, so that's been going on, and so I am, yeah, trying to work in time for those videos, but I'm gonna try some this weekend and possibly at some point in the week. But I'm not going to worry. I know that everything that needs to happen will happen, and it'll happen in its divine right timing, and that there will be many blessings to come out of it. Um, you know, our lives are not perfect because, we're spiritual. Um, and our lives aren't meant to be um, a struggle either because we're spiritual. But there are really important shifts and things unfolding right now on the planet. And we'll just talk about that, I think, in a few minutes if it's what's coming through. Um, but, you know, in the meantime, please make sure that you subscribe and leave comments and feel free to share any insights that you're receiving as you're listening, and sometimes some of you replaying the videos. And um, also, if you're looking for an angel reading with me, you can go to my current website, theangelschool.com/services, and there are several options available to you. So, you know, please feel free to choose from that. I always have what is called the first time promotional offer for any new angel readings, first time angel readings with me. So that's available as well. Also, if you just like to support me and support the channel, um, feel free to use my PayPal Me link, which you can find in the description area below. Um, it is um, all there. So, and anything that you um, grant to the channel um, will be received with such great gratitude, and will also go back into the channel as well. Also, I will, make sure that you are checking out the daily card messages. Especially, man, I think lately this week, I've been feeling, the last weeks rather, I've been feeling like I've been getting just new, clearer insights than I've ever received before, and they've been extremely helpful to me to write them, and I hope that they've been the same for you. So make sure you check that out. So I will put a link for the general monthly reading, and then be on the lookout for the angel scopes to sort of trickle in at some point at the beginning of this month. And let's now go ahead and um, take a deep breath and connect in with your I am presence and your guardians of light that surround you now, and just feel their presence and feel their energy just sweeping through and around you and closing you in divine love and security and peace and support. Be aware of this, and don't forget to just call in their energy to just surround you, especially when you need to feel safe or you need to feel lighter. Say, right. Now, they are showing me something that they were actually for the reading on the 4th that I did. And I'm not going to try to recreate it because it was written and it's out there. It'll be coming out on Monday for the 4th. But they showed me a sword sort of in the ground. And it just reminds me of the Ace of Swords and this clarity. And that the sword is pointing to the ground, for some reason, um, it's giving me a sense of this coming into the earth, right? So the clarity from above, now so below, and that this is what we've been experiencing. We've been experiencing, and I'm gonna just let you know, yeah, personally, I also have been experiencing it, and I what I realized very well, not quickly. It took a week, but it finally dawned upon me that heaven on earth, as it is in heaven. What is it? Um, I can't think through it, but it's that idea of on earth as it is in heaven. That's the phrase I was looking for. And why have we been struggling to have this on earth as it is in heaven experience? Mainly because of the system of our ego. And I feel as though, um, and this came to me from the Fool card, actually. Because you see him jumping off the cliff, and I was looking at one of my decks in the Fool card, and this story came to my mind. And if you can imagine that on that high ledge up in the mountains represents the high dimension, that blissful state where the fool is considered this pure innocence and ignorance because he has not yet been contaminated. It's as if he's up in the mountains on that high frequency bandwidth, on the higher dimensions. And when he steps off that cliff, there is an obvious descent, gravity, and he falls down sort of through the dimensions into the earth plane, the three-dimensional plane. Now, I don't know if I should get into this, but I'm just going to share it with you because it's one of the reasons that I'm not, you never hear me like, do the spiritual warfare thing, like talk about um, good versus evil, especially the word evil, or I don't ever mention demonic forces. Um, the story never makes sense to me, right? Um, and the thing about it is that our souls are seventh dimensional. So I'd like to think of that before our descent into our incarnations, that we're coming from a seventh dimensional plane, which is where the angelic realms and masters, etc., are at this plane or higher. And when we come into this plane, of course, we descend into the three dimensional. So what the story shifts through the descent of the perfection of that seventh dimensional world, reality, realm, as we descend, our consciousness shifts. It sort of um, it shifts into density and duality, contrast. And so my personal belief, I'll just say it and get it over with, right? Is that the story of Lucifer and the angels, warring against each other, to me, is something like as we were watching ourselves descend, we're seeing this perfect, state that of our idea of um, heaven, or this blissful state that the fool is in. And as it descends, it's like a picture in the consciousness, the way that the brain chemistry starts to adjust and our physicality starts to um, starts to become more a part of this divine essence, or the person, and then a person, so that a personality evolves, and ego becomes necessary in order to keep the fool from being a real fool in the three-dimensional reality. So that without the ego, the fool would um, would not know caution, would not know what the limits are within the three-dimensional realm and all the laws of nature governing it. So yeah, you know, go over there and poke the bear, bam, right? Kind of thing. Or if you touch the fire, ouch, yeah, burn, right? And so there was this, natural um, process that needed to be put in place. These sort of safeguards, or these laws, that help us to adjust and understand what how things work in this plane. And so I believe that it's almost like if you were looking up, I don't know if you can really imagine it with me, and you see yourself descend, but you're looking up, and as you go from one down a dimension, it gets almost like it's like if somebody poured a solution. I won't call it toxic, but they poured a solution, and it just keeps changing the changing reality, changing truth. Now there's interpretations of an event, because we're all now seeing through a filter. And that story, I believe, was seen through a filter. All right. Now, the ego has been projecting these illusions through our filters. And our filters, we have to learn to keep our filters clean, which means we have to change them frequently. We have to know the symptoms when this filter is needs to be purged. So this filter would be the veil of illusion. There's a veil of illusion and a veil of amnesia. And maybe they're one and the same, but the veil works where one, there's amnesia. So the accuracy or any memories of that seventh dimensional blissful reality was automatically forgotten. And if any remnants were to get through, they would be distorted by what? The ego. Because the ego's whole position is to create a reality of its own. And so it has to believe that it is separate and alone from the experience that is its truth, that it is not, and it is oneness itself. That is an extension of the Creator, like your limbs, your hands, your arm, your feet, your feet, and your other body parts and organs are extensions of you. It's one body, it's one you, but they are parts of you. And what person would not love, but of course, well, let's put it this way, what divine being first, because that question put that way, we can all tear that apart, and you'll see in a minute. What divine being would not love all of its parts? Because they are to him himself. Now, what human being would not take care of their body and the parts of itself? Well, then we find that it does happen, though, right? Because of this duality in our ego, we sometimes choose to neglect. And when we do that, that body part can become diseased. If we don't take care of it, if we neglect it. So, I gotta find my way back to my point. So, the clarity that's coming in. So, in this ego driven reality paradigm, this old paradigm, because this is really what I'm getting at. It's really old now. It's obsolete, and it's actually not, it's been disengaged. It's been deactivated. But we have this phantom, we have these phantom memories. Like if somebody, so like the universe has cut this limb off from us. And it doesn't have the seat of power. It never did. But behind the veil, it was all you could get to. It was all you could hear. The torture of its criticism, to ourselves and to everything around us, right? But we have the experience of a phantom memory, like a phantom limb. But behind that veil, in the true throne of you, was always your I am presence. And that I am presence is a direct link to the source. Now, there's more layers to that, but I definitely don't have time to get into that. All right, just simple. I'm trying to simplify it, and it's hard for me. So now, the clarity that's coming through is that veil is being blown away. And for some, maybe the filter is being cleansed for you. And getting back to that, we have to be paying attention, because those symptoms, when you're not keeping your filter, and that might be energy work or exercise or diet or, creative hobbies, fun, relaxation, play, recreation, being grounded, not spending enough time in nature, outside, etc., 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 spending time with animals, your pets, blah, 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 blah. And flowers, etc. Because all these things reconnect us to oneness, and while doing so, sort of cleanses that filter. And so, because your I am presence is really in charge now, the new paradigm, what's happening is it seemed as though, especially a couple of weeks ago or so, that everything was just sort of turned upside down. Now, this situation I was just, alluding to, being discreetly, because this is a public platform and I don't want, anything to get in my way legally. But the thing is that everything that I was trying to do through the normal means was just acting wonky. And my emotions and my attitude, and at some point it just dawned upon me, this is highly unusual, because it's if I was trying to solve the situation by being spiritual, but from the three-dimensional mindset, from the old paradigm of ego and fear. It's a slippery slope when we really can't let go. And the first thing I realized is, and I'm still struggling with it, and I still keep getting that message, which is, and the one I think I got last night was, I have to believe. I read somewhere, this expression, seeing is believing. Diana Cooper, her book, A Little Light on the Spiritual Laws. I highly recommend getting that book, although she just announced that she's a new version of it's coming out, but I would still go ahead and get this one and get the other one, because it's very short. But she was reiterating that some people say that seeing is believing, but actually believing is seeing. I think that's what she said. Okay. And so we have to believe. And so the message I was getting is just to believe. And the thing is like, I want to do, but no, I have to believe. I have to focus on what I believe. Hold the belief of the outcome that I know is truth. I have to, in the old paradigm, we try to make the clarity happen. In the new paradigm, we have to believe in the clarity, that it will happen, and allow the universe to create the clarity, show us the path of clarity to act upon. And sometimes that acting upon is going to be more about patience and waiting. Otherwise, you truly right now, because the ego's whole concept is you are alone. So you better get your butt out there and do something about it. And that within itself is mean because it's already telling you you're lazy or something like this, right? It's definitely your ego. But we believe in this. We believe in this. I mean, it's sort of like people make slogans and making money off of things like this. This is the old paradigm. And our lives collectively has been reflecting not only in the outer world, in this very um, general platform, you know, collective platform, these kinds of slogans. Like, you know, this is why we're having all these issues with people who really believe that the people that are suffering in all the other parts of the world and were coming to us in whatever country we're in for support, that's their problem. Because somehow we're convinced that I did my work, how come you can't do yours? You know, I was talking to someone else on the phone about someone who I was concerned about, and and I was trying to explain. I think there's the psychological issues going on here, and the person comes up with the talk I've heard everywhere. Where it sounds like you're making excuses for that person, but mental health issues are real in the sense that people are being burdened by them because of this lack of compassion that exists, that comes out of this old paradigm. And the new paradigm is, if somebody, that famous quote or question, am I my brother's keeper? The answer is yes. I would not hesitate, and I can't even say it fast enough because I truly believe it. I truly, truly, truly believe it. We are each other's keeper. There's no other choice. Because as long as desperation exists, then there then we're not going to ever feel safe in our world. If somebody's hungry, then this is why we all feel threatened about losing what we have, or somebody's going to take what we have. I did not live in this era, but I knew the people who lived in that era, my parents and grandparents, where even in the segregated South, they didn't even nobody locked their doors. They went on vacations and didn't lock their doors. And in that time, the stories I always heard, people were working together. They were helping each other. My um, aunts and uncles would talk about how my great aunt Mabel would, people would come to the door because she was a teacher and her husband had a decent job, and they, had they had it to share, and that my aunt Mabel would give people who came to her door asking. She wouldn't tell them, get away from here, da, da, da. And she would just the story. She would say, just don't tell Ralph. Just don't tell Ralph. That was her husband. And I saw this myself when all of my neighbors, we were not, my mom was a single parent and we didn't have a lot. The people in our neighborhood would give us rides, to go to the grocery store. I mean, they did this every week. And my mother, when she was able to be more sufficient And when at the funeral, all I heard was all these people telling me, "Your mother took me here. She came to pick me up. She did this for me. She gave me this." And I'm like, how could one person do all of that? How is it possible? And how in this world can there be so many of us? And that one woman I know, I'm not saying that I'm sure there are plenty of others like my mother out there, but this one woman that I knew my entire life, and I didn't even witness these things because I had moved away later on in life, but I witnessed what happened. How could she do all of that for so all those people that filled that church? They had to open their extended annex, and they all were telling me stories like this. And how is it that we can't do that collectively worldwide, so that nobody else is desperate, so that we can truly have a world of peace? So this paradigm shift, it's here. The best way I can tell it to you is, I don't know if you remember years ago, within the last 10 years, sooner, of course, you started the websites of different corporations or companies like your Con Edison, they were changing over the UI, and they were making you have to register again, because they were going to close down that old account and you had to sign on to the new account. Google was doing this here as well and I hated it because it was at the time so confusing how to use it as a content creator. From the old one was so direct, because why? Because it was familiar. It was the first experience I had with using the channel as a content creator. And then when they switched it, it seemed like it was harder to find everything. And I waited and waited and waited. And that's probably what I'm doing right now. And resisting, resisting, resisting. And if you're experiencing some of the topsy-turvy of late, is because you're resisting. You don't have a choice now. You have to go on. They probably and re-register, create a new login to the new paradigm where your I am presence is the source of your reality. The phantom memory is there, and you think you're actually doing something, but what is happening is you're not doing. Everything will get extremely worse if you keep trying to use that phantom system. It will seem like nothing is working, and the nothing that's working is getting worse at working itself at doing nothing but creating chaos. So be aware of the symptoms. Be aware of, projecting, blaming. These things it's gonna come back at you if you don't look to see how you might have attracted this to you, or how you may have, or how this situation is mirroring something to you, and how it's making you feel. Because if you don't pay attention to those feelings, when you're blaming the other person, the feelings are stewing, and those feelings are going to attract immediately what you the horror of those feelings. So you have to make sure that if the honest way, honestly, is like you have to do things to simplify this in a way that just doesn't heat up those feelings. And you also have to sit in prayer and really be aware of where those feelings are coming from. I mean, I just don't have the time in this platform to really go through that, but you have to be aware of those feelings, to not allow them to overwhelm you and cause you to take action, because that's the old paradigm. And it's going to go the wrong way. I don't care how righteous your cause it seems. This does not matter. They're writing in front of me the word cooperation, and this was my word for the month in my personal monthly reading, and I should have looked over it. I have got to figure out how I'm going to be a little bit more proactive in looking at my monthly journal reading, because I did everything I witnessed, even though I'm not in the wrong, I did totally the opposite of cooperation. This is the first key word, as if the key, like as if it was the first key word in a combination to unlock access to the paradigm. But you're within it. You're not locked out. It's just that the key word tells you how to operate within the new paradigm's operating system. So they're going to give us this word and they're writing yes, cooperation. And this is the hardest thing to do. Believe it or not. Because when you think you're right, man, you forget all about cooperation and you go to war. That's the old system. And I'm not a person who does that because I don't know how to back it up. It's just not my personality. I've always avoided conflicts, which I discovered why. Because of, things that I saw as a child. And so, and that caused me to become this instant healer who has always tried to fix everything and make people feel better. So the next word I'm seeing here is compassion. They're giving you another key to operate within the system. So cooperation and compassion. And here we have the Archangel Uriel, who is the Archangel of Peace, of your solar plexus chakra, fifth dimensional. And you remember I've talked about this. The yellow three-dimensional sends out fingers of looking for what can go wrong. So it sends out a finger of fear, basically cords of fear. It's trying to protect you, but it's doing it with fear as the filter that you see the world. So it's almost like your solar plexus is looking for what can go wrong today. Give me the news. It's looking for the newspaper. What's going to go wrong? You want, it's almost like you want a psychic reading, and because you want to know what not to do, or you want to know where not to walk, or you want to know who not to talk to, or who to go out with, because you're afraid that you're always going to be hurt, that you're going to be harmed, that you're going to incur more pain in your life. And in living this way, you, by focusing on this and emotionally and mentally, you are creating a vibration of the very thing you do not want, and the very thing that you are putting your energy into resisting. So what you resist persists, and what you focus on increases. So that Archangel Uriel would like to help you to step into your fifth dimensional chakra, which looks for peace. So in cooperation and in compassion, this functionality of the new paradigm on the new operating system, you need to be in the mode of how can I love better? How, because this is the only way to fix the damage control. You got to remember that being in that ego mindset was like being in a prison. And it was like being in a prison where you're brainwashed to forget your oneness and to feel the isolation of your separation. That is why you will think that nobody loves you, or that you're not lovable, or that you're not deserving of anything that you want, that you're inadequate. That harmful, crushing criticism You came into this human experience, the blissful fool, courageously, they write, not right now, into the human experience, knowing that you were going to have to bear this system. You just had no idea what it would really be like. And I know it feels like torture most of the time, that we go through this system and we feel like we don't have anyone to talk to, anyone who understands us, especially when we're the ones trying to be enlightened, right? And we're trying to be healing and healers and helpful and understanding. But we chose it anyway. And that makes you a hero from the start. And it will make you a hero no matter how badly you screw it all up. Because you are highly honored for your service here in this earth school, because you chose to go through this. Now, this card says, come into harmony and balance. Use your power for peace. And this is the only way you can function. This is the only way you can begin to feel as though you're getting back. Well, it's not about getting back on track, but you will find peace. That is your goal, because you're not trying to find how to manage and cope in this. You're not trying to survive anymore. That's the old paradigm. You're trying to thrive, and peace is the path to thriving. Here we have the inspiration of cups. So there's another sort of innocent relationship. This is a page of cup, someone who wears their heart on their shoulders, right? Or outside their vest, and they're really vulnerable and exposed to, considered gullible. So this is very, this would be the one court card, that would really sort of be the fool's personality. And we just see this pink energy coming out of this shell. And it's just this sense of love. And what I get a sense of here is it's a new relationship, this new paradigm. And the relationship is learning how to love, really, this time, for the first time. Learning how to love until you get it right. Because until we go through this, until we get it right, and no matter how we're being challenged by this, like, I wanted to give up on my generous, kind nature. I wanted to become this person who can fight, but it's just not who I am. So you first have to be true to yourself. You have to accept who you are. You have to honor it. You have to see it as a gift. And it's until you do that you will not truly know the power of love. So this is going to challenge us to really be loving, to be cooperative and compassionate. And you've got to go through this, because the programming was in that prison of your ego is so horrendous that the way out, you have to go through the process of unlearning it all. All right. This is the card for the hangman perspective. So you're going to have to really keep reaching for that higher perspective, that looking at things, looking at the bigger picture. That has to be your goal. What is the bigger picture? These balloons in the air, like birds that fly, like the eagle, they're able from that greater height to see the bigger picture, or at least feel or experience it within emotional, mental bodies. Okay, there's a need to pause. Take more time to pause. Wait more. Don't rush into action because you will just trigger that phantom reaction. And that's the thing that like I was really seeing. And it was hard, like I want to stomp on it. No, I gotta wait. Let's see what the universe is gonna do. Let's just see if the other side is going to do something unexpected. We're in a new paradigm. There's going to be a lot of things unfamiliar. This is what uncharted territory feels like. But this is also the good news. It's the good news. We are really headed towards an era of peace. The chaos is the good news. It always has been. This is what change really looks like. It doesn't have to be this way, but based on where we're coming from and the conditioning that we went through in that prison of the ego, and we don't believe that we're out of it still because the phantom effects of it is still powerful. But that is the reason why they are not allowing anything that we're doing to seem as though it's functioning. Like we don't feel like we're functioning right now. We thought we were functioning before, and it felt like we were functioning before because the old paradigm was all for it. But now you can't be a child of the light and act like something else. You have to be, that's not the phrase, but I want to say be true to your word. You have to be true to your truth now. And if you don't know what your truth is, you're going to find it out. Look at all these cards, sky, ocean. It's just beautiful because what they're painting a picture of us. This is the sun card, which is the most auspicious card, but it's painting a picture of vastness. We in that prison, that's why we're so comfy, cozy in repetition and continuity. We find security in this because the ego was limiting our world. I don't care how rich you are, you can go here and there, but if you are worried up about losing what you have, or that somebody's gonna rob you, or that if you don't keep doing what you do, if you can't, like you're worried about being excellent or maintaining your excellence, you were a prisoner just like everybody else, because this ecosystem was not about letting some people have more power over others. That served another purpose. That served a purpose so that you, wherever you are, could believe the story that made you feel that you were limited or made you believe that others were limited. And if you were the person at the top believing that others were limited, you were limited because you thought that. Because you've missed out on geniuses. You've missed out on people who could respect you and love you and cherish you in ways that you could never imagine. So that's what I mean. The ego set that dynamic up for its own protection collectively. But individually, we've all been prisoners in some way, shape, or form. And so, what is this saying here? That you have the opportunity now to shine in your true self. You have the opportunity to ride off into this sunset, right? Into well, the new dawning, the new rising sun, because it's not a sunset. The old paradigm is sunset. We're riding off into a new sunrise. And you can do this through cooperation and compassion. Cooperation and compassion. These are the two keys that they're giving you to start right now. I don't know what more keys they will give us in order for us to understand, or in order for us to start functioning in this new paradigm. All right, let's take a look at the card pulled from the bottom of the deck, and it's the Nine of Swords. So it's now it's interesting because this card is usually like, worry and anxiety. So be aware of this. But I feel like there's even a deeper message here. When the veil starts to lower, then you start to perceive spirit and those souls who are on the other side. And I get a sense that their messages are really trying to come through for us now. So don't ignore that sometimes that what you're also picking up on now is with the veil down, that we're picking up on the energy of those departed loved ones and the higher realms as well. Because facing our truth means also revealing the truth of the universe and how it's really how it really functions, and what of all those things that have been hidden from us, so that we could believe that we were separate and alone and needed to be afraid, when all along there was infinite support of a variety from the various hierarchies of the heavens. And I don't know why it's how the word cognitive. So just be aware, in terms of your cognition, that that you might be getting thoughts from the other side in some way, and really pay attention to those clear thoughts that bring peace. They may not bring peace to your warring nature, that old part of you that wants to fight to the end, but listen to the thoughts that lead to peace, those clear thoughts that create peace and cooperation and compassion. All right, so I send you lots of love and angel blessings, and have a beautiful week. God bless.